Great. We are here in the Comcast Tech Set Lounge, and I am pleased to be joined by San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo. For those of you who are following, we are at hashtag Comcast South by Southwest. That's Comcast SXSW. So, Mayor Liccardo, we are at the South by Southwest Interactive. Innovation is the buzz here. So much of what's happening in this country is happening in our nation's cities, so you have a seat and a whole lot of responsibility to drive innovation. Can you talk a little bit about your vision for innovation in San Jose?
Well, thanks, Brad. It's really a pleasure to be here in Austin, and always a great opportunity here at South by Southwest to meet a lot of great innovators. The good news is I'm not responsible for innovation. It'll happen with me or without me, and for the most part, it tends to happen without government. Our job is to try to see if we can be as innovative as the community that we serve. And I'm really blessed and certainly to be mayor of a city in the heart of Silicon Valley, 10th biggest in the country, but really surrounded by an incredible ecosystem. I've really worked in the last couple of years since I've been in office and seeing how we can get out of the way for the innovators and try to bring many of the innovators into City Hall, even if it's for short stints, a year at a time, to see how we can make government more nimble and innovate with many of the companies and entrepreneurs around us.
Great. So I love that as a perfect segue into civic innovation. So I think you teed that up perfectly. Can you talk a little bit about how you see the city's role in civic innovation?
Well, we have a few different roles. I mean, certainly as a convener, we have an opportunity to bring folks together to tackle challenging civic problems. What we've tried to do in San Jose is to be very deliberate about creating a platform for innovative companies that want to beta test or demonstrate whatever application or innovation they have that has impact. So we basically tell them, you can have our street infrastructure, you can have our buildings, you can have our data, do whatever you can with it. We are willing to work with you, and we know that sometimes it involves failing, and we fail fast and fail forward, but we want to be a partner with you. And that's not a typical response from government, certainly, but it's one that's helping us to be able to leverage some great ideas to really benefit the community. So a quick example, Facebook has visions of linking third world villages around the world, but they've got to figure out how to do it in dense urban areas. So they're launching Telegraph in downtown San Jose, which is a gigabit speed Wi-Fi service, provide broadband capacity for many communities that would simply be excluded. So this is an opportunity for us to be able to enable small businesses and many of the less affluent communities to be able to get wired at the same time that they're able to test a system that they know they're going to want to launch in India and beyond.
So can you tell me a little bit about how do you then engage your citizens, your community in these efforts?
Well, we know the good news is they want to engage, particularly among millennials. They want to have an impact. They see what's going on in the country today, and this is a great opportunity to bring people in who want to be able to leverage their tech skills to be able to tackle the big challenges of the world. And let's face it, the big challenges are really being tackled in cities, whether it's poverty, it's crime, it's racial inequality, whatever it might be. Cities are really at the forefront, and so it's a great opportunity for us to be able to meet mission and talent. And so we launched, for example, last year a program called Unleash Your Geek. We're very proud of our geeky culture in Silicon Valley and San Jose, and we basically identify civic challenges and invite people to bring their best ideas, and we have sponsorships from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and Community Foundation and others. And so just the latest, for example, is, these are not necessarily sexy problems. This is graffiti on freeway overpasses, for example. Right now we've got a state Caltrans agency that has to shut a freeway down. It takes several months to get approval, and then you send some guy up on a ladder to paint out graffiti, and pretty much nothing gets done for months in between. So we put an Unleash Your Geek challenge out. We had more than 100 prototypes. We've now narrowed it down to 4 finalists. We've got a couple drones, a couple robotic machines, and sooner or later we're going to find the one and whoever that is, and mostly students from San Jose State University, they're going to make millions of dollars off a lot of cities who want to get graffiti off of freeway overpasses.
I think there was a lot of note-taking happening.
Yes.
We see that in a lot of cities. Can you talk a little bit about how the city of San Jose is using data to inform decisions?
Yeah, I think there's certainly been a lot said and done in recent years in cities throughout the world around using data, open data platforms, and analytics to try to tackle civic problems. And the good news is there's a lot of creativity and things that we're seeing, and it's not necessarily the sexy things. It's how to combat illegal dumping and make your illegal dumping patrols more efficient, so you can get the furniture that's been left out or the trash or whatever it might be, and get it more efficiently, or how we can do park maintenance more cost effectively. Those are the kinds of applications we're using right now. We're focusing bright minds on seeing how we can be more effective. The challenge is that I think the perception is that data can somehow or another solve homelessness, and we know it might help, but we also know that there are bigger challenges here around resources. And so while pothole apps are great, they don't actually fill the potholes. You still need people and you still need dollars. And so there are limitations, but at the same time, we think there's great opportunity.
Right. No, that's great. Mayor, can you talk a little bit more about public-private partnerships? I mean, you're obviously in the heart of Silicon Valley, lots of companies, emerging tech around you. How do you engage them?
We had to bring really bright people in from the private sector to help us. And so, for instance, Shreen Santashim, who's our Chief Innovation Officer, we stole from McKinsey, and stole Joman Khan-Bui-Russo from Cisco to help us be able to sift through just the hundreds of ideas we get on a monthly basis from companies that want to partner with a city. And there are many great ideas in there. The problem is we have very limited bandwidth at City Hall. In fact, we have the most thinly staffed City Hall of any major city in the country, largely for fiscal reasons. And so for us, it's really a matter of identifying the most promising, most impactful technologies and running with them. And certainly we're happy to share with other cities the pitches we're getting, because if we can't do it, we'd love to see other cities do it. But we have certainly a benefit of an embarrassment of riches in Silicon Valley. We know these companies are willing to partner with cities anywhere in the country if they can demonstrate what they're doing.
Right. And let me follow on with that. You've got a lot of emerging tech that is there. So I'm curious how you view engaging with emerging tech like autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, it's a really interesting area, certainly, and lots of cities are very fascinated by this, and we all want to see how we can be at the forefront of helping this emerge for us. The number one concern for everyone is safety, and it's pretty promising. We think autonomy can enable every vehicle mile to be safer than the alternative with human beings. But the problem is how you get there in a world in which you're going to have a mix of human beings and autonomous vehicles on the same roads. So we're looking at, for example, creating autonomous-only lanes along key corridors, and working with companies to build out the IoT infrastructure you need to really ensure it's going to be safe. Because everybody sees where the future is. It's this mix of sort of electric infrastructure and autonomy and shared vehicles, which is very promising. But the pathway is far from clear. And I think cities have the responsibility to see how we can clear the path.
And talk a little bit more about that. I mean, you've got responsibilities to manage and run a city, and you run up against sometimes folks who want to run really, really quickly. How do you deal with that tension?
Yeah, it is challenging, and we've got lawyers, we've got a lot of folks at City Hall who want to tell us to go much slower, and it takes bringing along an entire culture in the City Hall that says it's okay to fail. Now, obviously, if you're in the context of public safety or public health, you might be more cautious, but you have to persuade folks that you're not going to be thrown under the bus just because this idea didn't work. And if we end up on the front page of the paper, that's okay. We'll end up on the front page the next day for something great we did.
That's great. That's great. being in Silicon Valley, I mean, you've got a complex city, a very diverse city,
Yeah.
and so some might have just the impression that it's, like a TV show and it's everyone in autonomous vehicles, the next Tesla. How do you sort of manage all of that? You're not just managing to the tech side, but you've got to manage across all kinds of diversity in your city.
Yeah, absolutely. And there still is a very real digital divide in San Jose, in the heart of Silicon Valley, and we saw it really painfully through the recent floods, where we had more than 500 families displaced from flooding. We relied, first of all, enormously on data that was wrong. It was a good instruction for us about how we deal with natural disasters, but also we relied too much on digital communication to try to warn people. And we have, 40% of our population in San Jose was born in a foreign country. We're extraordinarily diverse, and we had large pockets of monolingual Vietnamese and Spanish speakers who simply were never told about impending floods until they saw a firefighter on a boat trying to help them evacuate. That is a failure, and that's a failure that reflects certainly the digital divide that we need to bridge. At the same time, it reflects an over-reliance on technology because, let's face it, low tech would have done a lot more if we had simply gotten out there and knocked on doors in an appropriate language. So those are lessons for all of us as mayors. Tech is cool, but we still need people.
Talk a little bit about your vision for the future. The vision for San Jose. When people stop you and say, Mayor, what do you hope for the future? How do you answer that question?
We've got very big ambitions. We want to be the country's most innovative city by 2020, and certainly that means accelerating our progress in everything from IoT to data. We know that there are a lot of other great cities that are pushing hard on this, and I think the competition is good for everybody. It's certainly great for residents. For us, we have very focused objectives around what we want to do with our innovation agenda, specifically around equity, around bridging the digital divide in particular so we can create more opportunity. For example, we just launched something in our libraries, a vision around converting our libraries to career training centers, enabling individuals of all skills and language levels to be able to come into a library and get online training with sophisticated educational software. At the same time, you can get access to the latest from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to understand where your opportunities might be with your latest creation. So just a broad variety of skill building within our libraries. So that's one concept. So equity is critical. Another area that's critical for us is around sustainability. We're moving to what we call community choice energy. We think that within 7 years we can draw 100% of our electric energy from non-GHG producing sources. So those are the kinds of ambitions we have. We may not get there on all of them, but it's a lot of fun trying.
That's great. That's great. Well, Mayor Sam Liccardo from San Jose, California, thank you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of the time here at South by Southwest.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.